Imagine standing on a freezing downtown street on a rain-slicked Monday evening in November of 2026, listening to the relentless noise of traffic and the frantic murmurs of commuters. You watch a woman stop under the harsh glare of a street lamp, look at a screen overflowing with dozens of unread notifications, and slide her phone into her coat pocket. She turns down a quiet, empty side street, walking away into the dark, leaving the neon noise behind. To anyone who knows her, she has started to disappear. She stops replying to casual messages, declines weekend invitations, and quietly deletes her social media profiles. Her friends might whisper that she is going through a crisis, but the surprising truth is that this quiet, dramatic vanishing act is not a symptom of depression, but the natural, highly sophisticated culmination of an intelligent mind waking up to the realities of human behavior. Have you ever wondered why the smartest people in your life seem to slowly fade away into their own quiet worlds, never looking back? It is a pattern observed across the globe, and modern psychology has finally begun to decode the profound neurological and emotional reasons behind it. Psychologists studying self-determination theory such as Tweevy Nguyen, Richard Ryan, and Edward Deci have identified this deliberate retreat as a healthy psychological state known as autonomous solitude. Far from being a passive escape driven by fear, choosing to be alone is an active, highly advanced mechanism of effective self-regulation. When an individual reaches a high level of self-awareness, they discover that solitude acts as a physical, cognitive reset button, systematically down-regulating high-arousal negative emotions, clearing mental static, and restoring neural equilibrium. While the average person experiences an uncomfortable, anxious emptiness when the noise of the crowd fades, the highly intelligent mind utilizes this silence to heal and recharge. To understand why this quiet transition occurs, we must look closely at how the brain of an intellectually gifted person operates. In cognitive psychology, abstract pattern recognition is recognized as the primary engine of fluid intelligence, which is the brain's raw capacity to analyze highly complex, unfamiliar environments, predict outcomes, and recognize hidden structures without any prior instruction. Here's the twist. This remarkable gift comes with a heavy neurological toll. Under the framework of Kazimierz Dabrowski's theory of positive disintegration, highly intelligent and gifted individuals often possess sensory and emotional overexcitabilities. Their nervous systems are physically tuned to a significantly higher resolution than the general population. When they walk into a room, they do not just see a gathering of people. They absorb shifting frequencies of vocal tones, notice micro-expressions that flash across a face, and instantly decode unspoken power dynamics. Picture a crowded dinner party where others are simply enjoying the food while the intelligent person is sitting there quietly, observing the subtle clenching of a jaw when a colleague is praised or the fleeting look of resentment in a friend's eyes. Can you imagine the sheer cognitive load of constantly processing this level of detail? A qualitative study published in 2025 on highly gifted adults revealed that they frequently suffer from an exhausting phenomenon called pattern recognition exhaustion. They cannot help but see the friend who only calls when they need a favor, or the colleague who smiles warmly while secretly plotting to undermine their progress. Once your brain starts recognizing these social patterns, it becomes functionally impossible to unsee them. To avoid the relentless mental friction of constantly decoding insincere behavior, highly intelligent individuals eventually practice functional detachment. They do not start arguments. They do not demand explanations. They simply drift away to protect their inner peace, realizing that protecting their energy is far more valuable than maintaining an exhausting web of superficial connections. But this raises an even deeper, more provocative question. Why do intelligent people find so little satisfaction in the very social circles that others desperately chase? The definitive scientific answer was uncovered in a massive, groundbreaking study by evolutionary psychologists Norman Lee and Satoshi Kanazawa, who analyzed the behavioral data of 15,000 adults between the ages of 18 and 28. They discovered a mind-blowing, complete reversal of traditional social trends. While the average person reported higher life satisfaction when they socialized more frequently with close friends, highly intelligent individuals reported significantly lower life satisfaction the more they socialized. To make sense of this fascinating anomaly, Kanazawa and Lee proposed the Savanna Theory of happiness. This concept suggests that our modern brains are still adapted to the ancient African savanna, where human survival depended entirely on tight-knit tribal cooperation. Yet, individuals with high fluid intelligence are uniquely equipped to navigate evolutionarily novel challenges without relying on tribal conformity for safety or validation. In our modern landscape of concrete skyscrapers and endless digital notifications, they do not need tribal conformity to feel safe or successful. For them, spending hours on gossip and social posturing is not just an empty exercise. It is an evolutionary mismatch that actively pulls their focus and cognitive bandwidth away from long-term pursuits. They choose to trade the noise of the tribe for the clarity of their own purposeful path. This evolutionary drive is coupled with a deep, uncompromising understanding of human psychology. While millions of people around the world throw around the highly popularized modern paraphrase, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate," what the Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung actually wrote in his 1951 work Ion is even more haunting. He wrote that the psychological rule says that when an inner situation is not made conscious, it happens outside as fate. Highly intelligent individuals eventually begin to observe this exact rule playing out in everyone around them. They realize that the vast majority of people are not reacting to objective reality. They are reacting to their own unexamined fears, deep-seated insecurities, and unconscious projection. The friend who constantly criticizes your ambitious goals is not actually concerned for your safety. They are projecting their own paralyzing terror of failure. The acquaintance who constantly interrupts and dominates the conversation is merely trying to soothe an inner child that is terrified of being ignored. Once you begin to see these psychological projections with absolute clarity, you realize you have been cast in a play you never auditioned for. You stop taking other people's behavior personally. You stop wasting your precious emotional energy trying to argue with, or please people who are fundamentally asleep to their own internal dynamics. This is not emotional coldness. It is the ultimate manifestation of emotional intelligence. It is the realization that every time you say yes to an insincere social obligation, you are saying a resounding no to your own mental clarity. And once an intelligent person truly grasps this reality, their priorities shift in ways that leave onlookers completely baffled. People often assume that those who disappear must be deeply lonely, but the surprising truth is that they do not fall in love with loneliness. They fall in love with clarity. For the first time in their lives, silence stops feeling like an empty void and begins to feel like a sacred sanctuary where they can finally hear their own voice. Neuroscience shows us exactly why this transition is so therapeutic. When an individual completely disconnects from external social demands and sinks into quiet introspection, a specialized network of interconnected brain regions called the default mode network fires up. Far from being a state of cognitive laziness, the activation of the default mode network is the primary engine behind deep self-reflection, autobiographical memory integration, creative problem-solving, and emotional meaning-making. During these periods of deep solitude, the brain waves shift from the high beta frequencies of active concentration to the relaxed restorative alpha waves of deep creative flow. But for a highly intelligent person, reaching this state of neural harmony requires escaping a massive social burden known as self-concealment or social masking. A study on gifted adults found that because their natural way of processing thoughts is incredibly complex, they are rarely understood by average social groups. To fit in, they must constantly practice social masking, which forces the prefrontal cortex to work overtime, diluting their vocabulary, suppressing their true intellectual passions, and pretending to care about trivial topics just to make others feel comfortable. This continuous masking is an exhausting, high-energy cognitive process that eventually leads to severe mental burnout. Solitude is the only therapeutic space where they can drop this heavy mask, breathe freely, and let their minds run at their natural high-speed pace. They do not isolate themselves because they hate humanity. They do it because they love clarity and they need a space to heal. This profound transition is a demonstration of what developmental psychologists call solitude skills. According to the research of Dr. Virginia Thomas from Middlebury College, positive developmental solitude is a learned skill comprising deep connection with the self, robust time protection boundaries, and the capacity to validate oneself without external approval. Highly intelligent individuals have mastered these solitude skills. They do not rely on the fleeting applause of a crowd to feel worthy. They build their confidence from the inside out through rigorous self-respect and continuous intellectual growth. They read deeper, think more critically, and quietly construct a life that is an authentic reflection of who they are rather than a performance designed to satisfy other people's expectations. To everyone else, it looks like they disappeared overnight. But in reality, they were letting go of the wrong connections long before anyone else noticed. They disappeared one small, quiet realization at a time. They stopped participating in arguments that did not matter. They stopped chasing friendships that only survived when they were useful to someone else. They quietly withdrew their energy from rooms where they had to shrink themselves to fit in. And they did all of this without drama, without anger, and without an announcement. If you are watching this and you have recently felt the urge to pull back to clean out your contacts, and to spend more time in your own company, do not mistake this for a social deficit. Do not ask yourself if you are becoming antisocial. Instead, ask yourself a far more powerful question. Are you running away from other people? Or are you finally walking toward the life you were always meant to live? Sometimes, the people who seem to disappear are not lost at all. They are the only ones who have finally managed to find themselves stepping into a new chapter of profound self-respect and mental clarity. Until next time, keep questioning, keep growing, and this is Savanna Theory.